In August of 2022, a friend of mine came to me asking if I wanted to participate in a pro-climate disruptive movement. She wanted me to be a part of my then high school corps that was part of a bigger net of 7 universities and another high school. They all functioned independently but were coordinated by Greve Climática Lisboa, an activist group, and were synchronized with End Fossil, an international disruptive movement. There's this thing that fire ants do to survive harsh conditions where they link up their members in a specific way to change mass behavior. For example, when there is a flood, they link up and form a floating object that can survive for months in the water. Similar to this was what I learned in the first meeting of preparation that I attended. The first thing that they taught us was how to peacefully resist the police. And much like the fire ants, one of the ways is to link up with as much people as possible and form a chain on the ground. And much like the ants, you would only break the chain when holding would become harmful for you or the people you're holding on to. In this meeting, we also learned ways to have horizontal conversation with a big group of people, who to call if you got caught, what are your rights as an activist and a student, buddy systems, role distribution, political parties associations, alternative methods of communication, how to define your vindications, how to raise funds, etc. There were a lot of people in this clandestine meeting, but maybe that's just because it was a small room with familiar faces and some friends. I came home that day trying to decide how much I wanted to be part of this movement. I ended up telling my mom that I was going to participate in it, and it could give me problems at school and with the police, but I was expecting her support. Day 2. Take 4. After the first meeting, we spent 1 month and a half waiting and preparing for the 7th of November, when we would occupy the school. The goal was clear, and the official statement was the following. 3 years ago, we started skipping classes because we wanted to contest the future. A future that they were preparing us for. Now, faced with inaction, we are occupying and disrupting the normal functioning of our schools to shout loud and clear that without an end to fossil fuels, there is no future. We have to disrupt normality in order to radically change everything. So let's start with educational institutions, the spaces that society has chosen to project ourselves into the future. We have learned our lesson too well, and we occupy them for the sake of it. There is no shortage of inspiration, and in the occupied corridors, auditoriums, and classrooms, we will open up conversations that have slipped through the fingers of educational institutions. The government will not stop if we do not stop society. We stop in order to move forward. We will occupy to destabilize normality until our demands are met. We demand an end to fossil fuels by 2030 and an end to all fossil fuels in the government, starting with the current Minister of the Economy and the former CEO of the oil company Partex Oil and Gas, António Costa e Silva. The preparations for the 7th consisted in convincing people for our cause, interrupting classes to pitch our idea, talking with teachers, other schools, stickers, flyers, protests on the streets, to advertise, and meetings. Lots of meetings. At this point, my brother and his girlfriend were a part of the movement, she being an important figure that connected my high school's corps, Camões, and Greve Climática, a group of activists, some still students, others taking activism as a profession. They were the coordinators behind everything, the ones with the resources and experience. By now, we had everything, quite organized and prepared for the invasion. Day 3, Take 3. So it's the 7th November and everyone starts moving according to their role, like a colony of ants transferring places. The plan was to first prepare the school, putting all the posters, tents, flyers, etc., and then disrupt the classes and lure the people out with noise and fire alarms and instruments, yelling, microphones, and big speakers blasting music. I think the alarm wasn't actually planned. We didn't want to annoy people We wanted them to join. A sea of people comes out chanting, but to be honest, half of them were just there to skip school and another part was just there by following the crowd. We would only see who actually was supporting us at the end of the day. On November 7th, the occupations for the end of fossils began. 4 schools and universities were occupied in the early morning, and 2 more were also occupied by the end of the day. All occupations will be diverse and will take different forms, with different local demands, but we'll all act calmly and carefully, and we will not put anyone in danger. We will resist or peacefully circumvent any impediments from police or security forces. We will use a variety of tactics and creative initiative with the aim of sustaining the disruption and growing the occupation. During talks with the school's faculty prior to the occupation, it was established with the principle that him and the main members of the faculty couldn't support us openly, especially if we were completely blocking the classes and took out the option for the non-participating students to attend their normal schedules. Saying this, they also declared that the principal would refuse to call the police on his students, and if the Ministry of Education would pressure him to do so, he would consider quitting. For context, we all really loved and respected this principal, and were very aware that we were only able to be a part of this movement partially because of the education of questioning that this school provided us. That wouldn't happen without him. Here is where the problem started. A protest traditionally exists to create movement in masses, and in our case we had 2 options. 1. Gain max media attention to reach a larger demographic and urge them to start talking again about climate, or 2. Concentrating on the adherence of the people in the immediate ecosystem that we existed in. The complication is that the 2 options don't exist well together. For more media, there needs to be more disruption, but that meant more annoyance from the people around us and so less support from them, which meant less physical power of mass. But without media, there was less social impact. At the end of the day, the protesters occupied the schools, and 60 people slept in the gym. I wasn't there that night.
E a todos, não se esqueçam da força que ganhámos esta semana e que juntem a nós nesta luta universal, necessária e urgente.